And I gotta pick her dick.
How's it going? Welcome back, my beautiful sinners, to another great video here on The Savior Show. If you're new to the channel, which is pretty likely, go down below and subscribe. That would mean so much to me. You have no idea. Now, today, boys, we are going to take a look at this new video game called Solstice. Solstice. Sounds like a bit of a STD, but okay, let's go with it. So, this game is not actually a Souls-like game. Believe it or not. I know the name sounds like this is just going to be another Souls game, another carbon copy of the Souls franchise, but actually no, this is something completely different. I'm pretty happy that this is not another Souls-like game because I'm so sick and tired of developers just being lazy and copying what From Software are doing. Instead, Solstice is basically a God of War clone and a DMC clone. Isn't that great? That's a little bit different. Whoa. Games being original, I haven't heard about that in quite a while now. I'm just going to give you my Solstice review. This is my early review of Solstice, and basically I'm just going to give you the pros and then I'm going to give you the cons. I'm going to try and make this a quick video just to basically inform people because this game is coming out pretty soon. So like I said, Solstice is basically a God of War / Devil May Cry clone in some ways. Obviously it is trying to do some things unique, and I know that's kind of like annoying if I say I don't like games if they're not original. Of course we all borrow different elements from absolutely everything when we're creating something. That's just how the creative process works. But in recent times, games rely too heavily on just copying what other game developers are doing and then calling it their own thing, and I don't think that's a good thing. That's why we get so much stagnation in the gaming industry today, because they don't care about creating something unique. They are happy to recycle mechanics and gameplay features and not change up the formula. It's not a good cycle because this encourages them not to try and then just release unfinished games, buggy games, and charge so much money with microtransactions and all of this BS that we get in the modern day gaming industry. This is a little bit more hopeful because this is made by a smaller game developer. In fact, they haven't made many games before, so that's kind of unique and good because this is their first real attempt at, a big AAA game. I would say this is more of a AA game. So I'm not saying Solstice does nothing original. It does have some unique elements, but pretty much if you just want a quick rundown, this is like DMC and God of War combined. They had a little baby and this came out, and some of it works, some of it doesn't. And yeah, so let's just get into the positives. Okay, so pretty much Briar and Lute, who are the main characters, are basically soul-bound and connected, and that's basically the story of the game. You play as Briar, who has the power to wield a heavy sword, and then you have this side character who's basically like Navi from Zelda, pretty much, except she's a little bit more useful and not as annoying, so that's good. But yeah, pretty much these two characters are connected, and that's the whole reasoning behind the name Solstice. It's kind of, sisters connected, and they share this special bond. The dialogue is pretty good. Solstice is a story-driven action and kind of hack and slash type of game, and that's pretty cool because we don't get to see many story-driven games with this kind of gameplay. We haven't had many since DMC or the original God of War before it basically turned into The Last of Us, because hey, The Last of Us is popular, let's make Kratos into a soy boy, why not? So the story is somewhat interesting, I would say, and basically you have this connection between this kind of soul sister, which does remind me of kind of Zelda, Ocarina of Time, something like that. The dialogue is also pretty well done, and the writing is actually not too corny, not too cringeworthy. I wouldn't say it's on the same level as BioShock or The Witcher or anything like that, and it can be a little bit corny and predictable at times, but that is a pro. It does have a story and it's somewhat engaging. Also, it does have a fixed camera kind of approach to it, which does remind me a lot of the OG God of War, which is quite nice. And the combat is pretty well developed, there are a lot of combos you can do, kind of like Bayonetta, DMC, like I said. It's not as complicated as those games are, but it's still not bad, and you do have a lot of different combos you can try out, but it doesn't feel as polished and as smooth. Sometimes it doesn't register what you want to do, and it takes a little bit of time, like a kind of like a delay with your controls, which isn't so great. But the combat here is not bad, and a lot of people who have previewed this game are saying that Solstice is difficult. Okay, no, it's not. It's not fucking difficult. Okay, if you're a game journalist, then yeah, maybe this is difficult for you. I'm sure getting out of bed and taking a piss in a goddamn frying pan is difficult for you, but this is not difficult. Okay. So now onto the negatives of my Solstice review, and like I said, this is my early review of Solstice. I did get to play it early access. I haven't played all of it, let me just make that clear. So I haven't played the full game, but I've played enough to give you my review. So the negatives about this game is the art design is terrible, okay? I don't like the art design whatsoever. It's just disgusting, okay? And that's just personal preference. I'm sure some people are gonna vibe with it, but to me this just looks like a pile of shit, okay? And I know that sounds like I'm being very harsh, because otherwise it's a good game, but that is quite important if the world building and the art style doesn't appeal to you, and this doesn't, okay? It just feels very generic. This feels like a generic dark fantasy kind of asset package that the developers are using, and the character models and the creature designs, they all just look so generic and boring and so muddled. Like the bosses, the design on them just look just terrible. You know, kind of like the imagination of a toddler, what they think a monster looks like. The style is just all over the place. The style to me is just all over the place, and it doesn't have a consistent theme, and that's quite important in a game. So that's just my personal preference. Like I said, you might like it, so don't be too worried about that, but I just thought I would mention it. The art style is just very generic, and it doesn't have any consistency to its world building, in my opinion. The music is goddamn terrible as well. It's so generic. As a music producer myself, that does get to me if we don't have good sound design. You know, the sound design otherwise is okay, but the music is just lackluster, and yeah, just not that good, nothing impactful, and if anything, it distracts you from the gameplay because it's just so one note, and yeah, it just feels kind of like something from a mobile game, and it loops quite a lot, so yeah, I don't like it. The world building is generic, and the characters here are one-dimensional, like I said. It does have a story and it is somewhat interesting, but the characters don't feel like actual people. It just feels like a video game kind of excuse for a story, and it didn't engage me enough that I'm actually gonna, you know, play all of it. But it's not bad. If you love DMC and if you love that kind of style of gameplay and the story hooks you, then this might be good. The skill tree is also just, you know, the generic same kind of gameplay mechanics that we've seen in so many other games. It doesn't do anything new. That's the problem with Solstice. But what it does do with the gameplay, you know, similar to God of War and stuff like that, is enjoyable, and the story is somewhat interesting. So if that hooks you, then I'm sure you will like this. But to me, this is just a mediocre game. It's not bad, but it's not good either. And if you do enjoy it, that's great. You know, I don't care. That's fine. I'm not saying it's bad, but personally, this one isn't for me. But I've seen a lot worse, and yeah, it does have some pretty good elements. I just wish the story grabbed me and the world building grabbed me, but it just didn't. So yeah, that's my review of Solstice. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down below in the comments, and I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day, and go milk your cat today to get that sweet, sweet nectar.